Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you all are well, safe and healthy at home. I'm your course instructor Fazana Khan with another topic, the Duchess of Malfi. So it's another tragedy of Elizabethan time which has been written by John Webster. The complete name of this tragedy is The Tragedy of the Duchess of Malfi. So in today's class you will learn about this tragedy, about the biography of John Webster. We will talk about the plot, the characterization and the important text of the Duchess of Malfi. So pay close attention to the lecture to understand all these points. Well, let's start from the introduction. Here I'll tell you some points about the Duchess of Malfi. It has been written by Webster, as I already told you. It is one of the most known tragedies, English revenge tragedies, and is also widely taught in most universities in their undergraduate and postgraduate courses. It is also considered as the most frequently revived Jacobean plays other than those of Shakespeare. So, indeed, estimations of the Duchess of Malfi along with Webster's other great tragedies, The White Devil, have led some critics to rank Webster second only to Shakespeare as a writer of revenge tragedies. Right. So the source of one of the stage's great female character is the Duchess of Malfi, because Duchess of Malfi centers on the character of the Duchess, in which audience observe a provocative mixing of sensuality, passion, rage, and virtue. So the play as a whole features a complex interweaving of lechery, incest, murder, and torture with nobility, tenderness, and forgiveness. The darkness and horror of the Duchess of Malfi are dramatically compelling, but its unexpected glimpses of light give its complexity and richness that have maintained the interest of scholars, the audience, and the readers for centuries. So we can say that Webster is one of the best playwright of particular age, because he wrote this drama during the Jacobean age, and it is considered one of the best plays of that time. Let me tell you a little about the biography of John Webster. He born in 1580 in London, England. By nationality, he is English, and his period starts from 1580 till 1634. And from in literature, the genre which he started to write was drama, because he was a playwright. And the subject, we can simply say the themes of his plays were revenge, love, and conspiracy, which were the popular themes of the Elizabethan time. And the title which has been assigned to John Webster was English Jacobean Dramatist. He died on 1634 in London, England. Here you can see the image of John Webster, and I'll also tell you some of the important major works of John Webster, The Duchess of Malfi, and other important play which has been written by John Webster is The White Devil. These two are the important plays written by John Webster during the Elizabethan time. Well, here you can see the images of Antonio and Duchess, the most important characters, the protagonist, Duchess of Malfi and Antonio, the important characters of this play. First of all, I'll tell you about the characterization, some description of the characters of this play, and after that we'll move towards the discussion of plot, summary, and some other important points of this play. Well, let me tell you about the important major characters of this play. First of all, I'll tell you about the Duchess, who is the protagonist of this play. She is a young widow, and she appears in the play in the very start at the opening of the play, The Duchess of Malfi. She is the sister to Cardinal and Ferdinand. She is the twin sister to Ferdinand, and she had just been widowed in her youth. Although she promises her dominating brothers that she won't remarry, but she almost immediately proposes to Antonio, who is the servant of Duchess. He is the steward of Duchess. So it's scene that ultimately leads to the destruction of her entire family, save their only the oldest son. This is what you will learn in the summary of this play. So the Duchess is actually a strong-willed, brave lady, a passionate, a proud, and a strong and loving wife and a caring mother. In the opening of the play, Antonio speaks of her incredible virtue, and although she marries him against the custom and her brother's wishes, her goodness and vitality stand in stark contrast to her brother's evil throughout the play until the end of the play. So the next important character is Antonio. He is the steward of Duchess, and later he becomes her husband. So he just, in the start of the play, he just returned from France. He belongs to lower social status, lower social class, and that was the reason that both of them decide to go for a secret marriage. Right? So he is actually the steward to Duchess. So she falls in love with him and they secretly decide to marry. Well, so they managed to keep this marriage managed to keep it secret from brothers and from Mazzola, who is the spy who has been hired as a spy from the brothers of Duchess. So, but when we talk about the character of Antonio is an honest man, a good horseman, a good judgment of character he has. So, and he is a loving husband and a caring father. But he is also a passive man. He couldn't fight with the crisis, with the circumstances, and ultimately he is unable to protect his family from harm. He is also rather unremarkable when we compare it to the impressive Duchess. Cardinal, the third important character, he is the brother of Duchess, although he is a cool-tempered man as compared to Ferdinand, but he is also a cruel man. He had an affair with Julia. So the Duchess and Ferdinand's older brother, Cardinal is the older brother of Duchess and Ferdinand, and he is actually a calculated evil in contrast to his hot-tempered brother. He is a Machiavellian character using the power of his position to torture and counter the Duchess. Ultimately, although he loses his ability to control events, a situation Mazzola exploits to kill him. And after that, Cardinal, I'll tell you about the Ferdinand. He is the other brother, the twin brother of Duchess. He is the very cruel person in this play. So we can say that Ferdinand boasts an impressive collection of vices. He has a terrible temper, he is greedy, he is lustful, and he has an unhealthy obsession with his sister. He is powerful and corrupt, but as his anger over the Duchess' actions grows, he becomes more and more deranged. So he is the very cruel man, cruel character. He is the man who appointed Mazzola as a spy. Once Mazzola has, under his orders, killed the Duchess in the play and two of her children, he immediately feels deep regret and then loses. At that time, he loses his mind, his temperament, and he became mad at that time. In the play, Ferdinand is often associated with fire imagery and represents violent and evil character. Well, another character is Castruccio. He is an old lord. He is an elderly man with young wife who is unfaithful to him. And the name of the wife is Julia, who has an affair with with the brother of Duchess. I already told you the brother Cardinal. He has affair with Cardinal. So the next important character, Cariola. She is the Duchess' waiting woman. Duchess shares everything with her and she helps Duchess in her secret marriage. Julia is the wife. I already told you she has affair with Cardinals, but when she met with Bussola, she fell in love with Bussola. And Delio, he is the friend of Antonio, a courtier who tries to woo Julia, but a friend of Antonio. Antonio shares everything with Delio, and he is the man who at the end of the play saves and keeps the son of the Duchess. So Bussola is another important character of this. Throughout the play, Bussola is the tool in the hand of Ferdinand and Cardinal. So Ferdinand and Cardinal, whatever they do, prepare plan of evil against Duchess. That plan is executed by Bussola because he has been hired by Ferdinand to spy on the Duchess, for whom he serves as manager of her horses. So he is we can say, an evil character, and who is willing to murder for hire without any hesitation, because he killed Duchess and the sons of Duchess under the order of Ferdinand. But later on he came to understand that what he did was wrong. So his deeds throughout the play lead to worse and worse consequences, and the banishment of Duchess and her family, the murder of Duchess and her children. So Antonio's accidental death, he shows more and more regret for his action, and it is only when Ferdinand and Cardinal refuses to reward him for all his action that he stops blindly to follow their orders, and he decided to kill them. And finally, he killed the Cardinal and Ferdinand by the end of this play. These all are the important characters and their important characteristics which I explained to all of you. Now I'll tell you further about this play. After knowing the character, I am sure some of the points about the play must be clear in your mind. So a short overview of the play and what the critics do say about the play. So The Duchess of Malfi is a deadly tragic play, which is written by English dramatist John Webster. So the play begins as a love story between Duchess and Antonio. So with the Duchess who marries beneath her class, and ends as a dreadful tragedy as her two brothers harsh their revenge, destroying themselves in the course of action. So when they both of them decide to marry, and definitely it is their secret marriage which lead to their destruction. So the play is sometimes scorned by the modern critics for the excessive violence and horror in its later scenes, because there is killing, there are murders throughout the play. So nevertheless, the complexity of some of its characters, particularly the character of Bussola, who was a spy hired by Ferdinand, the brother of Duchess, and the Duchess herself, and Webster's poetic language. All these points give it a continuing interest throughout the play, and it is still performed in 21st century because people and audience do like it. So The Duchess of Malfi cannot be reduced to a dramatic subgenre, but its kinship to revenge tragedies written during the same politically turbulent years of the early 17th century is immediately striking. Means you cannot fall The Duchess of Malfi in the important dramatic genre, in the important tragedies of Elizabethan Jacobean time. It is also fall under the category of revenge tragedies. So how it fall under the category of revenge tragedies, let me tell you one by one the points of revenge tragedies, and then we will relate that how we can call Duchess of Malfi as a revenge tragedy. Well, before moving toward the discussion of revenge tragedy, let me tell you more about the historical background of the Duchess of Malfi. It has been written during the Jacobean time. Well, during Elizabethan and Jacobean time, definitely it also depicted the socio-cultural context of that particular time. The period in which the play is written is a vital of our understanding of the play. It is important as topics of the time that were important to the Jacobean audience were highlighted in the dramas of the time. Thus, the Duchess of Malfi, Webster writes about unorthodox marriage. To marry out of class was a social wrong for the Elizabethans and Jacobeans, but Duchess did this. She remarried with the servant, with the person who belonged to low class. And the inheritance issue, it was also an issue at that time. Inheritance issues were also a matter of national concern for audiences at that time. So the Duchess' remarriage to Antonio opened for the Aragon brothers a dilemma of inheritance, because the brothers of Duchess forces her not to marry because they want to keep all the wealth, all the property of the Duchess to themselves. So that's why they were not willing for the remarriage of the Duchess. So they would not have any valid entitlement to the wealth and estates that came with the dukedom of Malfi. So for the dukedom of Malfi, they wanted to become themselves as the honor after the death of Duchess. That's why they wanted that Duchess should not go for remarry. So the culture and socio-cultural context has also been depicted through this play by the John Webster. That's why this play has become the very important and very interesting play for the audience of that particular time. Well, let me tell you the plot summary of this play, very brief summary of this play. The play is set in the Italian city of Malfi that tells the story of Duchess. Keep it in your mind that this story depends on the real story of that particular time. There was a lady, and John Webster has depicted the real story of that time. So the story of Duchess, a young widow who falls in love with the lower class Antonio, the Duchess' evil brothers Duke Ferdinand and the Cardinal. They don't really approve of the Duchess marrying to Antonio. However, the Duchess and Antonio marry in secret way and have 3 children before being found out. When the brother of Duchess, Ferdinand and Cardinal, they left the Malfi, Ferdinand appointed a spy just to keep an eye on Duchess so that she not decide to get married. But secretly, both of them decided to marry. So Duchess and Antonio attempt to run away, and Antonio and their eldest child managed to escape, because when Bosola, who was the spy, when he came to know about the secret marriage of Duchess and Antonio, he informed to the brothers Ferdinand and Cardinal, and Ferdinand ordered Bosolio to capture Duchess and his sons. At that time, Duchess and Antonio had 3 children, and at that time, both of them decided to run away. Antonio and their eldest son child managed to escape, and it had been decided that later on Duchess and 2 sons will leave the palace. But prior to that, Ferdinand and Cardinal came to know, and Ferdinand ordered Bosolio to capture the Duchess. So, however, the Duchess is betrayed by her servant Bosola, who was the spy of Ferdinand, who was secretly working for Ferdinand, and the Duchess and her 2 younger children were executed at that time. The injustice of this turns Bosola against the Cardinal and Ferdinand, and he swears to exact revenge for the Duchess, because after killing them, Bosola came to know what he did was wrong. So the play ends in an escalating the chain of violence, as first the Cardinal confesses his role in the murders to his mistress and then murders her. Bosola then mistakenly kills our returning Antonio, thinking him to be Cardinal. Bosola eventually succeeds in killing the Cardinal, and then he and Ferdinand kill each other in a brawl. So the play ends with Antonio and the Duchess' eldest son taking his place as heir to Malfi. Because by the end of the play, the friend of Antonio, he had the son of Duchess, the eldest son of Duchess. So he takes care of the son, and finally he became the Duke of Malfi. Well, after the plot and summary, let me explain about the revenge tragedy. It has been stated that Duchess of Malfi is a revenge tragedy, so let me tell you about the revenge tragedy. According to the Book of Literary Terms, a revenge tragedy is an Elizabethan tragedy that contains elements similar to those of the chronicle play and usually concerned itself with the protagonist's pursuit of vengeance for the loss of loved one. A revenge tragedy is a kind of tragedy popular in England from the 1590 to the 1630s. Following the success of Thomas Guy's sensational play The Spanish Tragedy, it was a revenge tragedy. Its action is typically centered upon leading characters' attempt to take revenge against the murder of her loved ones. Sometimes at the prompting of the victim's ghost, it involves complex intrigues and disguises and usually some exploration of the morality of revenge. Drawing partly on precedents in Senecan tragedy, the English revenge tragedy is far more bloodthirsty in its explicit presentation of premeditated violence, and so the more gruesome examples such as Shakespeare's tragedy Titus Andronicus are sometimes called blood tragedies. Notable examples of the plays are fully or partially within the revenge tragedies. At that time, and during the Elizabethan time, the revenge tragedies which were written by Christopher Marlowe, who was the Duke of Malta. Another important revenge tragedy which you are learning about, John Webster's tragedy, the Duchess of Malfi. And one more revenge tragedy I want to tell you here is the Shakespeare's Hamlet, in which there are ghosts, there are disguises, there is the revenge of loved ones. It fulfills all the elements of the revenge tragedy. These are the characteristics of revenge tragedy: a secret murder, a ghostly visitation of the murder, conflicts, madness and eruption, catastrophe, horrible incidents, bloodshedding, adultery, rape and suicide. These are all the characteristics of revenge tragedy which can be found in the revenge tragedy. You can relate all these points one by one with the Duchess of Malfi to identify whether it is revenge tragedy or not. And finally, you will be able to spot various countless foolish comments made by different characters such as Bosola, Cardinal and Ferdinand. So this brings out the theme of appearance and reality, which makes the play laughable yet gloomy at the same time. This can be illustrated at how Ferdinand tries to lure Antonio to return to his castle by offering him forgiveness through the latter sent by Bosola to the Duchess and Antonio. So there are different scenes, different events through which you can compare with the characteristics of the revenge tragedy, and you can find the Duchess of Malfi is also a revenge tragedy, and it is definitely a tragedy because at the end there is total destruction in the play. So it's a revenge tragedy of Elizabethan time. It's all about today's class. In the next class, we will talk about the themes and other important points and concepts of this play. Well, here I'll wind up the session. Take care. Allah Hafiz.